First story. My sister's ex left her, claiming he is attracted to me. Now my sister demands I not wear makeup at the wedding, so she won't get overshadowed by me. Parents took her side, so I refused to attend the wedding and they harassed me, calling me selfish and petty. So I cut ties with my family. I've always known my older sister Megan, and I don't have the kind of relationship most siblings do. She's 3 years older than me, and from the time I can remember, she's been deeply insecure about how we compare. It wasn't something I thought much about growing up. I mean, you don't really notice those things as a kid, but looking back, the signs were always there, whether it was her insisting I stand in the back for family photos or her cutting remarks whenever someone complimented me. I can see now that she was always struggling with me being in the picture. The breaking point in our already strained relationship came years ago, and it wasn't even something I had any control over. Megan had been dating this guy Tom for about a year. I barely knew him beyond the few times he came over for family dinners. He was polite enough to me, though I honestly thought he was a bit bland. Apparently Megan didn't pick up on that because when they broke up she blamed me. Tom had admitted during the breakup that he found me attractive. That was it. No, I didn't flirt with him or lead him on, he simply found me attractive, and Megan decided that was my fault. For months she barely spoke to me, unless it was to throw some passive-aggressive comment my way. My parents sided with her, of course. They always did. Megan's just sensitive, they'd say. You should try to be more understanding. As if I wasn't bending over backward to keep the peace. That incident left a permanent rift between us. But I moved on. Or at least I tried to. Megan, however, seemed to use it as fuel for every petty demand she could think of. Over the years, she asked me to tone things down for events. Dye my hair to a darker shade because my blonde highlights were too much, wear something less flattering so I didn't draw attention, and even avoid posting photos on social media so people wouldn't see me looking better than her. I gritted my teeth and went along with it because it was easier than fighting. But the resentment built up over time. Fast forward to Megan's wedding. She's marrying Adam. A man who is perfectly nice but utterly spineless. I don't dislike him. But he's the kind of guy who agrees with whatever Megan says just to keep the peace. They'd been together for a few years, and their dynamic wasn't exactly healthy. But I kept my mouth shut. It wasn't my place. I wasn't expecting much from the wedding planning process. I knew Megan would be high-strung, and I figured I'd just do my best to avoid being a target. But 2 weeks before the wedding, she dropped her latest bombshell. She told me in no uncertain terms that I was not allowed to wear makeup or style my hair for the wedding. At first I thought it was some kind of joke. But she was dead serious. She said it's her day and she doesn't want to feel like she is competing with you while I'm overshadowing her. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. I barely wear makeup to begin with, just a bit of mascara and concealer. Maybe some lipstick if I'm feeling fancy. I don't spend hours on my hair either. I didn't think there was anything for her to feel threatened by. But Megan has always seen me as competition. It wasn't about makeup or hair, it was about her need to control me, to make sure I stayed out of the spotlight. I calmly told her no. I said I wasn't going to show up looking like I'd rolled out of bed just to make her feel better about herself. That's when the meltdown began. She called me selfish and accused me of trying to ruin her wedding. Then she brought in the big guns, our parents. I wasn't surprised when they took her side. They always do. My mom called me and said Megan was just stressed and that I should be more accommodating. It's just one day, she said. Why can't you just do this for her? The conversation left me shaking with frustration. Why was it always me who had to sacrifice to bend to be the bigger person? Why couldn't Megan just once face her own insecurities instead of making them my problem? The final straw came when I spoke to Adam about it. I thought maybe he'd talk some sense into her. But he just shrugged and said, "You know how she is." That was it. No pushback, no attempt to mediate, just an empty shrug. I realized then that nothing was going to change. Megan would continue to make unreasonable demands, my parents would keep enabling her, and Adam would go along with it all because it was easier than standing up to her. I decided I wasn't going to the wedding. I didn't make a big announcement or try to stir up drama. I just told Megan quietly and firmly that if she couldn't accept me as I was, I wouldn't be there at all. The fallout was immediate. Megan called me every name under the sun, my parents accused me of being petty and vindictive, and even a few relatives chimed in to say I was overreacting. But I didn't care. I wasn't going to let them guilt me into humiliating myself for Megan's sake. Comments. Comment 1. Your sister sounds like a real piece of work. But Adam. Wow, talk about a spineless jellyfish. You really think this guy is going to stand up for her in the future? He's already letting her walk all over him, just like your parents let her walk all over you. At this point, the marriage is doomed. Enjoy the eventual divorce drama, you'll probably be blamed for that too. Opie. Adam is exactly what you described. He's nice. But nice doesn't mean strong. I've seen him nod along to Megan's demands without so much as a second thought. And I honestly don't know how he's going to handle a lifetime of that. That's their issue though, not mine. If the marriage falls apart, you're probably right, I'll somehow get dragged into the blame. But at least now I know I won't stick around to absorb it. Megan's insecurities are no longer my burden. And that includes any fallout from her choices. Comment 2. So let me get this straight. Your sister has been a walking insecurity machine her entire life. Treating you like garbage because of her issues. And you just took it. For years. And now when you finally grow a backbone, you don't even go nuclear. You just quietly skip the wedding. Seriously, you've been a doormat your whole life. And now you're surprised your family wipes their feet on you. This is what happens when you let people treat you like crap. You train them to think it's okay. Update. First, I want to say thank you to everyone who commented on my original post. Even the harsh comments, I needed to hear them. Your blunt honesty made me realize how deep I was in this cycle of enabling my sister and my family's toxic dynamics. You all gave me the clarity and confidence to finally put myself first. And I'm so grateful for that. As for the wedding, I didn't go. I sent Megan a brief message the day before reiterating my decision and wishing her well. I didn't want to leave room for any further arguments or guilt trips. Predictably, she blew up, bombarding me with angry texts accusing me of being selfish, jealous, and petty. I didn't respond. I wasn't going to let her drag me back into her drama. The day after the wedding, my mom called me, furious. She said Megan spent most of the sulking because people kept asking where I was, which ruined her mood. Apparently, Megan had told everyone I refused to attend because I was jealous of her moment. The irony of her blaming me for ruining her day, when the whole drama started because she couldn't handle me wearing mascara, wasn't lost on me. My mom demanded to know how I could do this to my sister and accused me of being immature. My dad chimed in later, calling me heartless for not supporting Megan on her big day. Neither of them seemed to care about why I didn't go or how ridiculous Megan's demand was. It was all about Megan's feelings, as always. Some relatives reached out too. A few were supportive, saying they understood my side, but the majority just parroted the same nonsense about how I should have let it go for one day to avoid drama. I ignored them all. Megan hasn't contacted me directly since the wedding, which is honestly a relief. From what I've heard through mutual connections, she's still furious and has painted me as the villain to anyone who will listen. She's convinced herself I skipped the wedding out of jealousy, and I'm happy to let her believe that if it helps her sleep at night, the whole ordeal has made one thing crystal clear. My family doesn't respect me and they never have. My parents' blatant favoritism, Megan's entitlement, and even the enabling from extended family members have created an environment where my feelings are always secondary, if they're considered at all. So I've made a decision. I'm cutting ties. I don't mean just going low contact or setting boundaries, I've done that before. And it's never worked. My family doesn't respect boundaries because they don't respect me. They'll keep pushing, guilt-tripping, and gaslighting as long as I let them. So I'm done. I've blocked Megan on all platforms and won't be responding to any messages from her in the future. As for my parents, I've told them I need space to reassess our relationship. I didn't phrase it as cutting them off because I wanted to leave the door open for reflection and accountability on their part. But if they can't respect my decision or change their behavior, that door will stay closed. I feel lighter already. I'm prioritizing my own well-being instead of sacrificing it for a family that doesn't value me. It's sad to realize how one-sided our relationships were. But it's also empowering to finally take control. To everyone who commented, messaged, or supported me on Reddit, thank you. You help me see that I'm not crazy, that my feelings are valid, and that I deserve better. Sister's post. I'm changing names to match OP's story. My younger sister skipped my wedding out of spite, and now I'm heartbroken. Hi everyone. I never thought I'd be writing something like this, but I'm at a total loss and I need outside opinions. My wedding was supposed to be one of the happiest days of my life, but it was completely overshadowed by my sister's selfish behavior. Now, I'm left wondering if I'm in the wrong for asking her for something reasonable. For context, I 30F got married last week to my amazing husband, Adam 32M. I've always been the type to dream about my wedding day, and when it finally happened I wanted everything to be perfect. I thought I had the support of my family, especially my younger sister 27F. But she ruined everything with her jealousy and pettiness. Let me explain. My sister has always been naturally beautiful and she knows it. I'm not saying this to sound insecure. It's just the truth. She's the kind of person who doesn't even have to try, people gravitate to her. Growing up, I always felt like I was living in her shadow. I worked hard to make my own way in life, but it always felt like she got attention just by walking into a room. The most hurtful incident happened a few years ago when my ex-boyfriend broke up with me and admitted he was attracted to my sister. She swears she never did anything to encourage it. But come on, do you know how humiliating that was for me? She didn't even apologize. She just brushed it off like it was no big deal. Ever since then, I've felt like I've had to compete with her in every aspect of my life. And honestly, I'm tired of feeling like I don't measure up. So when it came to my wedding, I wanted one day, just one, where I didn't feel like I was competing with her. All I asked was for her to tone things down a little. I wasn't trying to be controlling or mean. I just wanted her to wear minimal makeup and keep her hair simple so that the focus would be on me, the bride. I didn't think it was such a big ask. After all, it was my wedding day. But my sister made it a huge issue. She acted like I was trying to strip her of her identity or something. When I calmly explained how I felt, she said I was being ridiculous and refused to compromise. I tried to explain that it wasn't about her, it was about me wanting to feel special for once. She wouldn't listen. Instead, she told me she wasn't coming to the wedding at all. I was devastated. I couldn't believe she would do that to me. I tried reaching out to her, but she ignored me, so I asked our parents to talk to her. They tried, but she doubled down, saying she wouldn't be controlled and that I was being unreasonable. In the end, she didn't show up. Her absence was like a dark cloud over the entire day. Guests kept asking where she was, and I had to awkwardly explain that she wasn't attending. It was humiliating. I could tell people were judging me, and instead of feeling like the happiest person in the world, I spent the reception trying to hold back tears. Now my parents are upset with her too, but she's completely shut everyone out. I feel like she's punishing me for something I can't control. I just wanted to feel like the most important person in the room for one day. Is that really so terrible? I know some people might think I'm being dramatic, but unless you've had a sibling who constantly overshadows you, you don't understand what it's like. My sister has always been petty and jealous, even if she doesn't admit it. She's acted like the victim in so many situations, but in reality, she's the one who's always had the upper hand. I'm heartbroken that she couldn't set her ego aside for one day to support me. AITA. Second story. My girlfriend's stepbrother tried to sell my little sister, locked himself in her room. But my girlfriend took her brother's side, claiming my sister falsely accused her brother for attention. So, I broke up with my girlfriend and kicked both of them out of my house. Now, my girlfriend wants a second chance. GF was over at my place 2 days ago. We're both 20. She has a stepbrother who's 23. Before this, I'd only met him a few times and he seemed like a regular dude. She asked if it was okay for him to come over too for a couple of hours. I said why not. He said he would get booze and pizza, and my parents were away visiting relatives for the weekend. So I figured we could shoot the SHT. I have a little sister who's 15. They came over and she stayed up in her room the entire time. We were all a bit tipsy, and my GF stepbrother asked if he could use the washroom. I pointed him to the one down the hall. My GF and I were preoccupied and didn't even realize how much time he was taking until we heard raised voices upstairs. We immediately went up to check what was going on and found my sister crying. Dude had gone up instead of using the washroom. My sister's door had been ajar, so he apparently walked into her room. All details I managed to wrangle from my crying sister, by the way. She was taken by shock and was trying to stay calm. But he wasn't leaving. He was trying to chat her up. She told him to GTFO, and he closed the door behind him instead, which is why she started freaking out. She tried to get past him to open the door and he grabbed her. But she managed to open it anyway. I'd reached the landing by then, so he backed off. Obviously I was super effing pissed. There was a lot of screaming going on, lots of accusations. We were all drunk except for my sister. After getting the story from her, the girlfriend's stepbrother was stuttering and deflecting. I'm pretty sure I threatened violence at some point. My GF was trying to be the mediator. She said I had to calm down and couldn't fly off the handle based off word of mouth. But I was there. I saw my sister crying in panic. I know what she's like, and I know she wouldn't lie about something like this. Why would she? I told her stepbrother to get out of my house. My GF kept saying we could sort this out and have a proper conversation. But I didn't see what conversation was there to be had. Eventually she said, "What if my sister was lying?" In front of my sister's face. I asked her what on earth would make her think that, and she said she's a kid and could be making it up for attention. Like the title said, I lost my SHT. I told her to get the F out, and afterwards she kept calling me, but I ignored everything. The dust has settled a bit. I went over everything again with my little sister. She promised me it had happened the way she was telling me. She told me she was scared he was going to saw her. My GF texted me this morning saying I shouldn't have raised my voice like that, and I scared her. I thought of apologizing then, but she still hadn't said a word about apologizing to my sister or addressing the issue with her stepbrother. I only replied that we had to talk, and she said there's nothing to talk about. There's no hard proof in her words, and the stepbrother ended up doing nothing. So she told me she would deal with him and I should drop it. I don't know if I'm the arsehole for the way I handled this. Maybe if cooler heads prevailed, this silent treatment wouldn't have happened, and we could have discussed everything. I don't know what to do from now on either. I love that girl. I don't want us to be over, so I want some advice on where to go from here too. Edit. Thank you to everybody who commented and left advice. I've posted an update. Comments. The evil Satanist. A 23-year-old man should not be trying to chat up a 15-year-old girl. Full stop. Fet collector. Trying to saw a 15-year-old. What grown arse man manhandles a 15-year-old on his way to the bathroom? A predator. Shinigami complex. He even already committed a crime. Trapping someone in a room with you counts as unlawful false imprisonment. AITA. And more really. But false imprisonment is undeniably a crime he committed. Poison smoke 420. NTA. Break up with your girlfriend and protect your sister. The GF is an enabler. I know she has had to see or sense the creep before. Apprehensive_war19612. She said you scared her by yelling, but her adult stepbrother was drunkenly in a 15-year-old girl's bedroom, and she doesn't think the child was scared. You need to break up with this girl. There is no conversation to be had. She saw him in your sister's room. There is no explanation for that. Period. There is nothing he could have done in that situation that would have been innocent. NTA. You would be in awe if you stayed with this girl. You should be asking yourself if she set this whole thing up. Snorvelations 7068. Yeah, classic deflection. For me, this implies she is fully aware of her creep stepbrother and wants to control the narrative and have it on text for a record. Oh, this never happened. He just started screaming while drunk. Creative pre-line 517. Are you freaking kidding? An adult male unknown to your sister enters her room, refuses to leave and closes the door, and your girlfriend is upset because you yelled. What if you called the cops? Would GF be mad and scared about that? I'd seriously recommend reporting it. If nothing else, it will establish a record of his behavior. It's definitely not something he hasn't done before. It's possible GF is one of his victims. NTA. Thank you for believing your sister. I wasn't. Your GF knew exactly what was going on and tried to deflect it. Justy Artigas 11. NTA. Protect your sister. And maybe have a big, long talk with your girlfriend. If she doesn't understand, then reevaluate your relationship. Up. I'm definitely not losing sleep over the way I treated the stepbrother. I think I should have done worse and could have done worse. But I just wanted him out of the house. I'm pissed because over these 2 days all her texts were about how she felt and how I could have handled this better. And she's never seen this side of me. Which is all true. But when I messaged her back to ask about her bro, her response was effectively, drop it. I can't believe she's being so callous about this. Buttered under Crumpet 09. Hey GF, this isn't about you and your feelings. Your adult drunk stepbrother went into the bedroom of my underage teenage sister, shut the door behind him and would not leave. The best thing that I could do was make him leave. Rather than being appalled and apologetic, you had the audacity to question whether my sister was being honest in front of her. At which point I lost my temper. How could you accuse her of that while seeing how upset she was? Even if you had doubts, that wasn't even vaguely the time or place. Since this happened, the only person you've cared about is yourself. You want an apology for my being angry and shouting. But not once have you apologized or asked about my sister. Again, this isn't about you, and I don't think this is going to work out since I want to protect my underage sister. And you want to protect your feelings and your potential predator of a stepbrother. Am I sorry I raised my voice at you? Yes, but if ever a situation warranted it, it was then. And no, you've never seen me like this because I've never been in a position where a grown man shut himself in my sister's bedroom and made her afraid she was going to be sawed. Now we're done and there's nothing left to say. That's what I'd send to her. She's an SHT bag, and I'd bet he's done this SHT before. Keta's orchestra, maybe it's time for the OP to ask why his GF is an apologist for potential saw. Remind her that the shoe is actually on the other foot, and that her actions were in fact appalling. That no matter how much she ducks and weaves, there was only one woman in danger, and it was his little sister. Buttered _ Crumpet Zonai. She's teeing up to say, well, even if your sister was scared, so was I. And I'm not making a fuss, so just get over it. It's a bullshit false equivalency to make OP feel bad and forget about the fact her brother is a rapist. There was no good reason for him to be in that room, especially with the door shut, and he lied about where he was going for a reason. Judgment NTA update 2 days later. First off, thanks to everyone who commented on my previous post. I tried to read as many comments as I could. I got some great advice. My GF asked me yesterday if we could talk in person. I agreed. We met at a public park. She showed up already looking on the verge of tears. You/buttered _ Crumpet Zonai. Your comment was goated. I basically said it word for word to her LOL. She let me speak and was silent for a long time before she said she was sorry for the way she had reacted. She told me she had been drunk and panicked and hadn't been thinking clearly and was trying to stop it from becoming a fight. We discussed her stepbrother. She told me he has a weird streak and acts oddly sometimes. She told me he genuinely could have made a mistake and didn't mean any harm. I asked why he'd gone upstairs in the first place and why he'd shut himself in with my sister on finding out he was in the wrong room. No answer. I asked how she was so sure he had no perverted intentions. No answer. Some of you suggested that the stepbrother might have had a history and even might have done something to her. I didn't outright say it, but I was implying it. I kept saying, what if he had gone further? What if he's assaulted someone before and you don't know about it? Etc. I asked if there had been incidents like this before and how she could possibly downplay what happened. She didn't have anything to say. But again, at that point she was too choked up to speak properly. So I don't think she could have answered even if she wanted to. Anyways, I wasn't there to listen to excuses or justifications, and I told her that. She asked me if we were over, and I said the only way we could move forward was if she apologized to my little sister and then stopped all contact with her stepbrother. I just don't see a scenario where my sister feels comfortable around him again. She told me she didn't want to lose me, but she couldn't do what I asked of her. So I told her yes, we're done. My parents came back this morning, by the way. Like I said, they had been out of town at relatives' places. I hadn't told them about this over the phone. I just said an incident had happened and I would explain when they got back. My sister asked me to speak to them on her behalf. And I told them everything. My dad gave me a lot of SHT, rightfully so. He says he wants to speak to my ex's parents about this. Let them know what their son did. Police here are about as useful as tits on a bull. But we discussed it. And we're going to file a report. /autodenatisha anyway. I highly doubt it will go anywhere, but at least it will be a record in the system. My sister is doing better. She was really shaken up. She asked if she could sleep in my parents' room or mine for a bit. We will probably arrange a therapy or counseling session for her and let her decide if she wants to continue. I'm going to take her bowling and then we'll get food, just the two of us, so I can also apologize on my part. I feel upset. I feel guilty. Actually, I trusted my ex and my being naive put my little sister in danger. I've always thought I was a responsible person, and this happening when I was supposed to be in charge is FING me up. I'm pissed at myself, NGL. But we move. My favorite comments to read were the ones telling me what to do to the stepbrother. I don't ever want to see his face again. But in case I do, someone let me know if you have a woodchipper lying around. Thanks again, everybody. Edit. Some things. People have asked if I can run a background check or something. I don't think it's legal for a civilian to do that in my country, Portugal, and I don't know if I can request one. I'll see though. Also, to everybody commenting about underage drinking, I was so confused. That's not a problem here, LMAO. I won't be incriminating myself or anything by filing a report, so don't worry. Comments. I will never walk alone. I was waiting for this update, LOL. Good on you, mate. I still think the creep did something to your ex, which is why she kept deflecting and answering vaguely, saying he acts odd sometimes. Even if he did, it's not your responsibility now though. Your poor baby sister. Hopefully she heals quickly from this. OP, most people seem to think so. I will say my ex's mother has been with her stepdad for nearly 6 years. She never liked discussing her family, and had only recently introduced me to all of them. She never gave any indication of a bad relationship between her and her stepdad/brother. I would have never guessed in a million years if abuse or assault was happening. I hope it's not the case, because that would be seriously effed up. Cowet. Personally, I don't think he did her something such as abuse or assault, but something more insidious, grooming. That would explain why she is so vague about him. Gustavanity. That's a really valid perspective. The behavior described his odd actions, shutting himself in a room with a sister. And the lack of clarity about his intentions could be indicative of grooming, rather than outright abuse or assault. It could explain why she seems hesitant or vague when talking about him, possibly due to a mix of confusion, fear, or a desire to protect him. Grooming can often involve manipulating someone into normalizing inappropriate behavior over time, making it hard for them to see things clearly or speak out about it. The situation definitely warrants further investigation, especially with her reluctance to talk about him directly. Thank you for watching the video. If you are interested in listening to these kinds of stories, we've got more in store for you. Simply subscribe to our channel, hit the like button and share it with your friends.